In 2006, a teenager was arrested for causing chaos and using foul language towards police officers. His defense was that the voice heard by the cops was not his own, but rather that of a ghostly pirate. Thomas McGair, 18, from Glasgow, Scotland, claimed that he was not responsible for the disturbance, saying, "It wasn't me, it was the pirate." Sheriff Rajni Swanee found the story intriguing, while McGair's lawyer Andrew Kennedy mentioned in court that his client was in a state of distress, as he believed he had seen a ghost. Despite admitting to causing a disturbance, McGair denied being under the influence of alcohol or drugs and insisted that a ghost was to blame. It was reported that his sentencing had been postponed. It is difficult to fathom a more monstrous act than a mother taking the lives of her own children. Nayana Patel from East Asheville, North Carolina, was apprehended in late August 2011 for the brutal killing of her two daughters, 8-year-old Gia and 4-year-old Pia. The murders were particularly horrifying as they were carried out with a hatchet. Patel's husband Lalo walked in on the ghastly scene to find his wife harming herself with the hatchet and his children lying injured on the ground. He immediately dialed 911, but Gia was already deceased, and Pia would later succumb to her injuries at a nearby hospital. According to authorities, when questioned about her motive for this irrational act, Nayana only mentioned to the police that the ghost murdered her children. She also expressed that she had no desire to live and refused medical assistance for her self-inflicted wounds. Lieutenant Wallace Welch, acting police chief, described the incident as terrible and tragic. A former police officer responsible for upholding the law typically would not be the one to engage in massive theft. However, Joseph Hughes from Mount Gilead, Ohio, was convicted of such crimes in 2011. Despite his claims that a ghost was responsible for the stolen goods found in his basement, including air conditioners and a generator, prosecutors were not convinced, and he was found guilty of most charges. Lisa and Phil Wrigley from Clifton, Nottingham, were furious about repeated attacks on their vehicles, so they installed home cameras to catch the perpetrators in action. To their surprise, the cameras captured more than they expected. In the early hours of August 1st, 2012, they spotted what appeared to be a childlike spirit in orb form, dressed in white and wearing a hoodie, leaping over their cars. The couple was taken aback by the sight. Phil, who was skeptical about ghosts, had to admit, "I don't believe in ghosts, but this footage is unusual." Lisa was stunned, saying, "I am completely shocked by this. I have the video clip here. It shows a young child around 4 or 5 years old. It must be a ghost." Mrs. Wrigley was convinced it was not an ordinary child because their dog always barked when there were people around, but stayed silent that night. In the end, the Wrigleys chose not to pursue the ghost for damaging their cars because they found no signs of harm on the vehicles after the incident. At times, a haunting can be more than just an emotional disturbance. It can turn into physical assault as well. A French family from Montcourt-Becourt reported that the ghosts in their house have become increasingly aggressive. One family member sustained serious injuries, requiring hospitalization after being struck in the face by a chair that flew towards him, followed by a soap tray to the back. Even a family friend who visited the house ended up needing medical treatment after being hit by stones thrown by the enraged spirits. Local authorities took the situation seriously and relocated the family to temporary housing at a nearby campsite. Currently, the family is working with an exorcist from a local church who is making frequent visits to their home, attempting to rid it of the wrathful spectres. This incident involves a criminal experiencing a form of retribution, possibly through cosmic forces. In Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, a thief who was robbing a house claimed that he was abducted and held captive by a mysterious being without food or water for 4 days. An official named Abdul Malik Hakim Johar from the police department confirmed that the homeowners returned from their vacation and discovered the intruder, whose identity remains undisclosed, inside their house in a dehydrated and exhausted state. The intruder mentioned that whenever he tried to escape, the supernatural entity forced him back to the ground. Medical assistance had to be sought for the thief, who will likely have second thoughts before engaging in another burglary.